And luckily, Joe has not left us, and we're still here for a great interview. It's Tay Ford here once again. So, Joe, I gotta ask, bro. We've been talking about your business for a little while now. How do you balance being honest in reviews while also, maintaining relationships with folks? Because I'm sure you have tons of people like, hey, we want Live PDX to come to our business, but your customer experience is going to be your customer experience. So,
True.
How do you manage that?
I'm just playing. I usually focus on the highlights, stuff that I'm actually really excited about. Like if somebody asks me to include certain key messaging, I'm down to try and focus on it. If they're like, oh, well, we have the best burritos here, and I'm like, okay, well, let's try one, and if I'm like, oh man, these are great burritos, sometimes I'll phrase it in a way that's like, I call it the YouTuber method, where it's like I'll make a claim like, this is the best sushi spot in Portland. There's gonna be a bunch of people that are like, no, it's not, I know the best sushi spot in Portland. Which then boosts engagement, right, which is a good thing. But then in the caption is usually what I'll toss in my most honest stuff that I'm like, ooh, I think this is my favorite spot in Portland for sushi. Or maybe I say, this is probably one of my favorites. It's usually in those wordings where I'll let you know kind of what exactly I feel about it. If I say it's the best sushi spot, oftentimes it's because I'm trying to gain some sort of like attention for it, of like, oh, is it though? And I think maybe it should be considered one of them, but I'm not the voice of, I'm not the person who really can dictate that. So a lot of times, as I was first starting out, I was trying to be so precise with how I was describing things. But then as I got, a little bit more experience in it, I was like, people don't really give a shit what I think. But if I make like a polarizing statement like that, it at least gets people's attention so that they'll start talking about it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not here to rank the places in Portland. I'm here to get people talking about them and put it in front of people's eyes.
I have to go just real quick.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So with that, do you ever have like, instance where I knew you, recognized you, have people come up and are like, hey, I didn't like what you said about Dan's hot dog stand, and like try to banter with you about that?
Not in person.
Okay.
Not in person. I've had people recognize me in person. That's always been largely very positive. If they've recognized me and not been excited about it, they were at least nice enough not to say anything.
Does your girlfriend get like annoyed about that? Like in terms of like, you guys are eating and somebody just comes up to you?
No, actually, it's actually the opposite issue. I'm really good with faces and names. So if I see somebody that I haven't seen in like a decade, that I've met twice and wasn't even that close with, I'll be like, John, oh my God. And she hates it. Because I always just have to say hi. I'm not going to let it like, I don't know. I always feel the need to like say something about it. Not just from even like a networking standpoint, but I also just find it polite and not
like the awkwardness
awkward.
of like, we're staring at each other. I know you from
Yeah.
somewhere, but yeah.
I'm going to skip right over that. I'm going to say what's up. And she
Takes
hates it. She feels like I went to high school with everybody. She's always like, I swear. Because I'll just be like, oh, I think I went to high school with that guy.
Yeah.
I should go say hi. And she's like, don't.
Sometimes you gotta keep the same energy. If someone's like, yeah, you're like, I'll be honest, it does feel very embarrassing when you're like, hey, I know you, and they're like, and I'm like, I see what you did there. I'll wait.
I've definitely put people in that position where I'm like, oh my God, so good to see you. And they're like, who the fuck are you?
No, they knew who I was.
All right, so bro, this is how you
difference.
navigate that. Here's some game for y'all that don't know. If you ever meet somebody not familiar or can't recall rather how you know them, just make some quick banter. Hey, bro, yeah, we gotta get up. Matter of fact, put your number in my phone real quick so we grab a drink or something next week. John, my guy. See.
And they probably went home that day and were like, dude, this random guy just asked me on a date.
This is good. Nah, shit.
There you go.
I gave him my number and I don't know why. Now we have a date next week.
That's only if it's a person, and we've all been there where it's somebody probably met them at least 20 times, but for whatever reason their name does not stick in your head.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. I gotta get closer. Yeah. I'll give that a whirl. But these particular people I'm talking about, they know exactly who I am. So it's just kind of like, we're doing the big timey game. And they're like, oh yeah, from Eugene. Yeah, from Eugene. Yeah, we've been in study groups. I know you. We've got grades together. We were in the same group project. You know I am. But actually, one of the things I kind of want to double back to, when you were just telling me, when you were just telling us about like how you do the review aspect, it kind of actually made me remember of Mel Robbins. She had the judge, this like super popular judge who always gives whoever he's seeing like the least restrictive, like he's an old white gentleman. And on the podcast this week, he was just talking about how he got that from his father, about like always giving compliments to people, and that's the best way to motivate folks. So I thought that was very interesting that you would even say that, because I'm kind of like, when you do have to give reviews, because like one of the reasons why I really appreciate Tay is like, you know, he does give his honest take with stuff, but he never going to lie to you, because I feel like you have to care enough to a person to be honest. But also I feel like you push a lot of people more with compliments than, you know, pushing them down. So I really appreciate you saying that, because I was like, man, that OG told that judge, and I was like, so I just wanted to share that with you, because I feel like that's a really dope method.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, it's also, you know, it's not even, because I think some people think it's just purely positive, and it mostly is. And that's because like, if there is something that I see that I'm like, you know what, that wasn't my favorite thing here, I won't include it in the video, you know, especially if it was something that I was like, I'm going to be honest with you, this wasn't particularly good. And I'll say that to business owners. Like, if there is something that I genuinely think like, hey, I don't think you should be serving this to the people, I think it's not good,
Right.
I'll fucking say it.
So awkward. I had a situation like that where a local business here reached out to me. It was right when I started doing food content reviews. They were just getting this one social media platform started up, hit me up, asked me to come in to try this item they were making a specialty out of. It was me, like 2 other influencers in the city, and then like a taste tester group. I reviewed it before I posted on the platform. I sent it to their social media manager. They were more or less like, hey, is there any way you could try this again to give us a more positive review? I was like, you know, I'm fine doing that, but like I know what my palate's like. So I tried again, was quite frank with them that, you know, just wasn't my cup of tea, and they kind of got feathers a little ruffled behind it. But I just wasn't gonna sit up there and lie and just be a paid infomercial, basically.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, it's a weird, it's a weird thing, because, you know, the you know, like reviews and like giving like a 1 out of 10 rating, things like that, I don't think are objectively bad. I think that it's actually rather entertaining content, and sometimes it can be really helpful for helping people find what they are actually looking for. You know, for me, you know, I think when I created Live PDX, I just realized we were really facing so much stigma in Portland that I was like, let's really try and just focus on the highlights. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was like, you know, I know a lot of local businesses are struggling. I'm not going to post anything negative. But if they do something, or if there is something that I'm like, hey, this is objectively not, I don't think this is good. I had a business recently that was presenting all of their stuff for photos and media in a way that it doesn't actually get presented to the customers, thus making it look like a lot more food than it was. And I was
shit.
Is this how you normally make this? And the owner, I'm not even going to say who it is or anything, but the owner was just like, no. And I was like, why are you making it like it now? I've never really had that happen to me. And he was like, well, it looks like more food. And I was like, well, that seems dishonest. And he was like, well, no, I mean, it just looks better this way. And I was like, it does look better this way, but it's not how it actually comes, right? Like, he's like, no. And I was like, I don't think you should do this. And it was like this very awkward thing where I was like, I think you might get bad reviews about it. He said, we've already gotten a few of those. And I was like, and you're still doing it?
Lean in on this more. Like, what?
I was like, what do you mean? Like, so, you know, I'll be honest with business owners, but there's no real reason for me to try and kind of push them down online, because, you know, I know it's hard.
They were like, that's too damn bad.
That's too damn bad.
Now, I actually really appreciate you saying that, because, like, I have been a victim of, like, it looks like this on the menu, and I get it, and I'm like, well, damn, this sucks.
Calling yourself a victim.
I'm like, I thought I was getting more macaroni and cheese. I just got a
little sample.
exactly. I was like, this is. I didn't know Costco was a restaurant.
Hey, matter of fact, since we got Joe here, bro, you should ask him. Just, I know you got your lady friend, so